Booyah! How's everyone doing? Hello, chat. I know, it's not time yet. I said at 10 p.m. Central European time. But I guess since every other streamer is always at least 5 minutes late, I thought it might be a good gimmick to be the one guy who's always 5 minutes early when streaming. At least 5 minutes early. Okay. Let me turn off this bloody intro. Bam. Intro gone. Twitch chat. And my webcam. Here we go. There we are. Let me move you over here so I can see you live as we go ahead. Do we chat or get to ask you questions? I thought about reading through the subreddit because I thought about doing a Q&A video, but I realized that there are too many questions to just answer, to be honest. So yeah, I thought a Q&A stream would definitely be better, where I just read the subreddit. If you want, I can also just read the chat for a while. If that is something you prefer, I'd gladly find the moment to do that. Mexico. Yeah, that video is going ahead. Subreddit is cool. Wait, you're not just... No, I also have a face, underbody, and all the things that come with that. So we can ask... Yeah, sure. If you want. One thing I should tell you is I'm not sure if Twitch will actually archive this stream when it's done or save it when it's done. So it might be a good idea to OBS record it. If one of you guys OBS records it, that would be nice. The intention would have been for me to upload it to another channel, but yeah, if I don't have that available to me. I just realized, why the fuck am I wearing these headphones? I'm not in a call with anyone. There's no reason for me to wear them. Okay. Then again, it could be that someone just randomly decides to call us. And if that happens, basically, it would be annoying. Okay. I'm not going to play Roblox, or whatever the fuck that is. What did you study in college? IT and history. Yeah, this is going rather slow. I'll give it one more minute to see what questions you may post, and if you don't post any, I'll just go through. What do you think of the South Africa situation? I don't know. What is the South Africa situation? How old are you now? I'm 29. I will be 30 on September the 14th, which I dread. Apparently the first Turkey video was removed in Denmark. Yeah, for a copyright claim. There's nothing I can do about that, really. What political books do you recommend in general? I'm reading 2 books right now, which are a little bit political. So this is The Narrow Corridor by Darren Acemoglu, which I can definitely recommend. Darren Acemoglu is my favorite economist. He analyzes the history of state and economic institutions and how they impact us today. The other one is literature. This is called The Oranges of the President by Abbas Kita. Abbas Kita is probably one of the best Arab writers that's currently alive. Ironically, he writes in German, though, and he lives in Germany. He's an Iraqi refugee in Germany. And it's the second time I'm reading this book. It's about his time in an Iraqi torture prison under Saddam Hussein. What do you do for work outside of making videos? I do gardening work right now. I used to live off YouTube. Then I was cancelled and lost most of my income through YouTube. I got a job at a construction site as a result, and now I'm making more money on YouTube, but I'm not fully living off YouTube. So I'm still doing gardening work and stuff like that here and then. Do you read any fiction? Yeah. I thought about if I do the Q&A video, I'm going to make a video segment in it, specifically about the books that you should read. When's the Ireland video coming? Whenever people will vote for it. When is military intervention justified? When is military intervention justified? To protect yourself, I guess. When there's reason to believe that it's the only means you have to protect yourself. Best, worst part about being in Australia? I guess the best is the weather, the worst are that everything is trying to kill you. You think Lukashenko will lose his power in the next few years? I think so. I think Lukashenko in Belarus will eventually lose his power. Warum noch nie sprechen Sie Deutsch? Ich kann auch Deutsch sprechen, aber ich gehe mal davon aus, wenn ich Deutsch spreche, dann verstehen mich die meisten hier überhaupt nicht. Why did you move to Austria? Because I could, and because it sounded nice. I lived in Passau in Lower Bavaria before moving to Vienna, and living in Vienna sounded more interesting than living in Passau. How's life in Austria? Comfortable. How long did you grow your hair? I don't know. I'm honestly just too lazy to get it cut. I had a girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend now, who said I looked better and that she preferred me with longer hair. And so I kept growing it, and then we split up, and I just am too lazy to cut it. Do you think Trump will get re-elected? I don't think he will. When was your last haircut? I think 3 years ago. 3 years ago, yeah. Are you for or against conscription? I'm for conscription, on principle, in peacetime. How do you get your English accent? My dad is English. Planning to do more Twitch? I don't know. I don't think that I am particularly good at this. And I believe you would agree that this is not exactly the highest tier of entertainment, and that I should probably stick more to making videos. Will you ever do a video about Venezuela? Yes, I will. The last time I started working on it, as some of you who might have been around for a while know, that I started working on a Venezuela video. I even finished the research on it. But I got pestered by 2 friends into quitting. Ex-friends, one of them. I had this right-wing guy who kept pestering me, do make it about communism and how bad communism is. And I had this left-wing Swedish guy who I used to talk to a lot, who was like, you must make a video about how Chavez did nothing wrong and excuse the Maduro regime and blah, blah, blah. And what I wanted to do was make a video about the economic institutions of Venezuela and their development throughout the last 200 years. I dislike simplicity very much. So yeah, why did you remove your deserved this video? I'm taking down all videos in which I give my own opinions. Size preference in women? I did what? No, I don't in particular have one, to be honest. Your thoughts on constitutional monarchy? Interestingly enough, more stable and more secular than most republics, which is very interesting. Gender preference in women? Yeah. That's bait. That's bait. That's pretty good bait, but it's still bait. Nice try. A ban bait. Do you think Central European states should begin to somewhat remilitarize due to the potential new aggression from the Russians? Yes, absolutely. What do you think of Rhodesia, that it's now called Zimbabwe? Have you read the... the chat is going a bit too fast. Have you read The State and the Third Millennium? No, I haven't. Will you ever do a video on the Decembrists? You mean the anarchists in Russia that killed the Tsar? Yeah, the Dekabrists, I think, is what it's called in Russian. Dekabrists? I don't know, someone who's Russian. Might be an interesting chapter if we do a video on terrorism in the future. What economic system do you think is best? Well, which one works? Video on ancient Israel, maybe at some point, yeah. What do you think about all the Lebanese bomb thing? There's no bomb in Lebanon. It was an accident, wasn't it? Why did you take down your Antifa video? Because it's an opinion piece. I didn't like Antifa. I still don't like Antifa. I don't believe that it's a terrorist organization, as some very stupid right-wing people think, but I believe they're basically just thugs and gangsters. And I can't stand them. But it's an opinion piece, so I took it down from YouTube. Can we put your old videos on an internet archiver? There is an automatic internet archiver. When I opened my channel on YouTube, I opened a separate archiving site, which automatically archives all videos that I ever upload. I'll make sure to post it in Discord so you have it available to you. Do headbanging. Oh, fuck. Oh, man. Was it really necessary? Well, then again, I didn't need to do it. Oh, fuck. Favorite music? Don't have much. Thoughts on Boris Johnson? He's what is worse than Berlusconi? The English Berlusconi. Boris Johnson. It's going to be amusing, but also painful for the English, I guess. Besides preferences in penis. Thoughts on Popper? Yeah, he's my favorite philosopher. I think you know, otherwise he wouldn't be asking. Thoughts on technocracy? I haven't looked into it too much. Thoughts on Hans Hermann Hoppe? He's a bit cringe, to be honest. Quite cringe, to be honest. What do you think will happen to Russia? People should never underestimate that it is a very right-wing and conservative country. If there were to ever be a revolution in the near future in Russia, it will probably be brown and not red. A video on Islamic minorities like in India. Maybe at one point if I make a video that is more detailed on India. Thoughts about White Russia? I hope the the dictatorship collapses and democracy will be established. Will you ever do a video on Egypt? Yes, that is planned. We just have to get to it. Should I go fight for the French Foreign Legion as an American? I don't think they would take you. You have to be a really tough son of a bitch to be taken there. Like, I have a subscriber who's a Hungarian veteran of the French Foreign Legion, and you have to be really tough to be accepted there. Jesus fuck. And it's like a completely revamp and change of your life if you join. Do you play chess? Yeah, but I suck. Thoughts on Helmut Kohl? Very corrupt conservative chancellor, in my opinion. Very overrated as well. Just how many bitches do you got? What? Why vape? Because smoking is disgusting. And I quit smoking. Will you ever make threats analyzing the threats to European democracy? Certainly will look deeper into Russia at some point. What do you think about Turkey after making these two videos? It's a very general and broad question. Whenever people ask something like, what do you think about the country? I don't know what to really respond. You know, it's like, what do you think of a country? How do you answer that? I don't know how to respond to that. Are you sad Vakken was cancelled this year? No, I'm not sad because I was at Vakken 10 years ago. So, video on the better Sagan of Akkad, the ancient one. No. Okay, guys, let's say this. I'm not going to answer any drama questions until I answered all the regular questions. Okay. Maybe at the end of the stream, I'm going to answer some of that stuff about my old time on YouTube, the people I used to associate with, and all that. But not right now, because there are a lot of people in my audience who don't know any about this and don't care, right? So if I'm going to answer questions about past drama and what I did on YouTube 3 years ago and 2 years ago, I would like to have the ability to warn my audience beforehand and say, okay, at this point, I'm only going to answer drama questions. So if you're not interested, you can tune out. Thoughts on the Middle East? That's one of these general questions where I don't know what to answer. Honestly, don't. Thoughts on Serbia? Yeah, that's what you do. I can't answer these questions. You can't summarize conclusions that you make about a country's, history, geography, society, politics. There's so much interplaying there. You can't summarize that in, hey, what are your thoughts on a country? There's no way you can answer that. Why are Europeans so obsessed with Palestine and Israel? I don't know. I really don't know. Some are. Some are not. I think America is more obsessed, to be honest. Yeah. Are you aware of Dragon Lord? Yeah, and I feel sorry for him. I feel more and more sorry for people who get trolled, and I'm more and more in dislike of the people who do all this relentless trolling, to be quite frank. Now you're repeating questions. I will take this as a sign that I should go and read the subreddit to answer whatever questions you may have. There's one more question that I would have for you, though. Should I share my screen while I do this? Great. Good. Then I will share my screen. Bam. Here we go. That's a meme. Sargoy L. Appleby's The Sword of Liberalism. I'm not going to show you that meme because I'm pretty sure it would get me banned from Twitch. Okay. This is the artwork. I can show you this. Dabrowski took... he took your critiques and he improved on the artwork in general. So it's... So he removed the airs, the umlaut air and ös, I think. And he added the ch. I think the C is pronounced as ch in Turkish, if I'm not mistaken. So he changed that. And he made this version that some of you requested to put on the t-shirt instead. Well, it's only this. Okay. Q&A video. Is YouTube your full-time job? No, it is not. Right now, for a living, what happened with the COVID crisis is that a lot of gardeners, garden work is usually done by Romanian migrant labor, and since a lot of them are not here, I've took some gardening jobs that are pretty well paid actually. Trimming trees, like cutting down branches with a chainsaw, cutting down trees entirely, all that kind of stuff. Weed whacking, lawn mowing. That's what I do right now for this summer. Any thoughts about Iran and where it might end up after the current regime? Well, how do you know that that regime is coming to an end? It might still be here 20 years from now. I remember how 20 years ago people would constantly say that that regime was going to fall. Thoughts on violence and Muslims throughout India? Well, right now it's actually the Hindus, the fanatics, who are committing more violence against Muslims in India. So you should not be confusing that. Favorite historical or current world leader? I think the current world leader who I most agree with is Emmanuel Macron. My favorite world leader in recent history would be Helmut Schmidt. Most important event you anticipate happening in 2020? The US election, and I do sincerely hope that Trump will not be re-elected. I don't particularly like Biden, and I'm not going to, on my main channel, endorse a candidate, but I believe Trump has been a complete disaster, frankly. Most important... What do you think about the coronavirus? Well, I'm going into lockdown. I'm going to follow the advice that the government and medical experts give, to be honest. What's your favorite political leader from history? Helmut Schmidt, I guess. I also like François Mitterrand a lot. Yeah. It's mostly democratic people and not authoritarians. What inspired you to make these geopolitical videos? Well, a desire to show to people how current events and current political crises came to be. To get people to understand why the world in our day and age is in a certain way. How things over hundreds of years developed to how they are today. So I'm not putting that much of an emphasis on geography as much as I'm doing on the history of institutions, which I believe is far more important. Your videos have really inspired me to become more informed on international affairs, geopolitics, and check out a lot of the books you cite in your video descriptions. What would you recommend as some must-read books and a resolution for those? Okay, since we are at this point, there has been a lot of criticism about the lack of sources in the Turkey videos, the two. And I wanted to address this by saying, I have sources, I wanted to post them. This are all the books that I read for the Turkey video. And I just wanted to make a segment at the end of part 3 where I guide you all through all of these and tell you which ones are worth something and which ones are not. If I had done a segment with sources at the end of every single video, it would feel a bit like, that would be like trying to hastily and artificially lengthen the video. I do rate Peter Zion as Brain for Breakfast is, but I am not really that big of a fan, to be honest, of him. If I may put it aside, if it comes to geography, the two books that I recommend the most are The Revenge of Geography and Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. Far better researched, and in my opinion, superior books. And I bought Prisoners of Geography in German and can tell the German members of my audience that it's a pretty good translation. But yeah, I used these 3 and the Zion ones, but the 2 main ones that I used for the Turkey video was Türkei verstehen, von Atatürk bis Erdogan by Gerhard Schweitzer, which unfortunately is not translated into English. Gerhard Schweitzer is a cultural scientist who spent 40 to 50 years of his life living in Turkey, speaks Turkish, studying Turkish culture and Turkish history, and he is one of the favorite Middle East experts in German news media, if you've seen it on talk shows or debate shows. And it's a pretty damn good book, but some people have already pointed out flaws within it. The other one is Ecce Kuran, Turkey, the Insane and the Melancholy. The problem with that book is that Ecce Kuran is an exiled journalist. She's an Erdogan opponent who was kicked out of Turkey and was prosecuted for her political beliefs. So she writes very anti-Erdogan books. And this book here is a very good summary of events over the recent 70 years throughout the Republic. It's very short, very concise. You can read, as you can see, you can read through this in like a day or 2, or maybe a week if you're a slower reader. And it gives you a pretty good summary of recent Turkish history. So it is definitely something worthwhile. The problem is, though, as I mentioned before, her political views and therefore consequently her biases. So if you read it, you should be aware of those. Okay. Hello, crowd. Big fan of your channel. Thank you. What are your thoughts on recent conflict in Ukraine and how do you think it will end? That's tough to say. It's more like, how much can Russia chisel out of Ukraine before Russia inevitably gets into trouble itself, economically and demographically speaking? Like, Russia is a collapsing country, desperately trying to maintain stability, where a collapse seems more and more inevitable. And the question is, how much can it chisel out of Ukraine? How much can it destroy Ukraine before it collapses itself? What are your thoughts on tankies? Yeah, no, I'm in general not a fan of any authoritarian political set of beliefs, to be honest. So, it doesn't matter if communist or Nazi, I'm not a fan. I'm absolutely not. Why have you decided to switch your content and use Poland balls? Because I liked it. I liked the format. And because Brain for Breakfast died. And I found out 5 months later. Was sad over the fact that I would never see videos like these again. And then 2 months after that, I sat down and thought, okay, how about I just try to make a video like that? And I kept going from there. But I don't just want to use Poland balls in the future. I'm going to go back to some older style videos as well at some point in time. We will see how that goes. I have to refill my vape. Running out of liquid. Okay, nice. What's your reaction to Brexit succeeding? Is Brexit really succeeding? Really? Are you sure about that? If you think so, if you think it is succeeding, okay. Good luck with that. I mean, it is succeeding in terms of you are leaving the EU, but it's not exactly a success for Britain, is it? What is a Q6A? No idea. Do you have a favorite sports team? I used to have Barcelona. FC Barcelona used to be my favorite team, but then they sold out. They became this plastic club that sold their rights to rich Arabs and flying dentists from all around the world to sit in the first row. Did you know that they changed the time when they play games? Games in the Spanish Liga used to be played in La Liga at 10 at night because the days were so incredibly hot. So they would come together at night to play the games, and then they turned the time when they played further just so they could be at the right time zone for Arab sports channels. And they did that for money. And I hate this kind of plastic club, which just bows and bends to pressure. So now I'm looking for a new club to support in La Liga. And mine right now, my favorite is Atletico Bilbao. At least I'm very interested in it. Atletico Madrid as well. So I'm split between Atletico Madrid and Atletico Bilbao. There's of course close to nothing to support in Germany. Of course, I'm behind the behind Borussia Dortmund, but it's just Bayern wins every fucking season, and it's annoying. Your thoughts on the Rohingya in Myanmar? If I make a video on the drug war, we will talk about this in more detail about what's happening in Myanmar. It's another genocide because Myanmar is a nation where you have I think you have 120 ethnic groups, an ethnic majority group called the Burmese, and for the last 60 years, the Burmese majority has basically been constantly, every 5 years, starting a new genocide against some ethnic minority group. They basically use it as a policy measure in that country to rally the population behind the military junta. Do you believe that the world is going to improve on the overall or sink into a darker time? And how so? I think it's going to improve. I believe that democracy is going to spread. And I believe that our systems of democracy are going to improve. Do you think that the EFD is to blame for the right-wing terror attack in Hanau? No. Well, that's a question. If you believe that rhetoric inherently leads to violence, the question that I have to ask you is, where do you draw the line on that? Where do you draw the line? does right-wing rhetoric lead to violence, and therefore we have to shut down right-wing politics? Okay, but do imams lead to terrorist attacks? Because, everything that happened in the Islamic State could be justified with the Quran. Literally everything. So do we ban the Quran? The Chinese famine, the Great Chinese Famine, was justified with Marxist writings. Do we ban Marx? The borders between what is caused by rhetoric and what is not caused by rhetoric are very thin. It's a very thin line. And it's not one that you can for certain say if something that was spoken caused a specific set of violent acts. And as long as you don't have that certainty, taking the extreme measure of just banning speech is a very dangerous act. Very dangerous act, and I cannot sign off to that. What is the future for the Muslims and Islam as a whole? I don't know. They're like the Islamic identity is a myth. There is no global Islamic identity. Islamists like to claim that there is, as an alternative and rebellion against the secular modern world. But the idea of a global Islamic identity is bullshit. It doesn't exist. It's not real. What should a normal Muslim do to be spiritual, not fanatic? Well, spirituality and religion, in my opinion, is a very personal thing. I'm going to try to answer another question, which I know is coming, which is what is my views on religion or on Islam? And I have to answer this collectively. I believe it is pretty well known to a lot of people at this point that I'm very anti-religion. I just am. I see it as a core problem within modern recent societies. I see religion in general as the cause of most ills in our societies and in modern societies. And therefore I am very aggressive towards anyone and anything trying to push their religion into politics. That's who I am. And that causes a lot of miscontent. My right-wingers who came across me really don't like it when I talk about how much I hate having a Christian church involved in politics. And left-wing audiences, which for some reason it is popular to defend the Islamic religion in the left, they don't like it when I criticize the idea and the notions of bringing Islamic religious doctrines into politics or furthering a collective political Islamic identity. But yeah, I am in general just very anti-religion. That is who I am. And yeah, you can disagree with that, and it's not something that I will voice in future videos, because I try at the current time to keep my opinions out. But yeah, you should at the very least know about it. Okay. What do you have next? No. There's someone starting a debate. Oh God, what happened to this thread? Here we go. What do you think of how American and Canadian teens often play contact sports like hockey or football? Does it disconcern you with the evidence of brain damage from contact sports? I have not researched that a lot, but I've heard about it. And I know for a fact, I think from what I've read, it's kind of ironic that if you were to play football as Americans play it, without the helmets, it would be safer. Yeah, like you would get nasty injuries like broken noses, a little bit of torn skin here and there. But overall, these images wouldn't be as bad as the brain injuries that occur by constantly bashing people's heads in. So maybe Americans would have to, I don't know, fall in love with rugby as it is played in Australia, New Zealand and England. Maybe that will help. What do you think about the current situation of Latin America and the women's situation throughout the region? I don't know if you're referencing something specific. I'm just going to say this. Latino is a spook. Latino is a 19th century Anglo-racial categorization. There is no such thing as the Latino race. We actually will be talking about this in the future Mexico video. If you look at the demographics of Mexico, Mexico is whiter than the United States, I think. The population is 60 to 70% white. Argentina is the whitest nation in the Americas. Chile is whiter than the United States. The Latino race thing is a spook. I guess a lot of Americans associated with a different race because a lot of people from Mexico who emigrate to the United States are mestizos, because mestizos are the poorest demographic in Mexico. But yeah, Mexico is majority white, and Latin America in general is majority white. So the entire idea of the Latino as a cultural identity construct, it's a myth, it's a spook, it's a figment of the American imagination. Yeah. Like, even just the idea, like, first time I met a South American, I was just, I said, oh, so you're a Latino? And he just looked at me and said, no, I am Bolivian. You know, these are not, this is not a uniform cultural and national identity. These are nations, cultures, structures. You have a very, very, very prevalent Native American culture, especially in Bolivia and in Brazil and in Ecuador and in Guatemala and in Mexico. Very, very, very unique. This is not some cluster fudged together hodgepodge. These are very distinctive nations, cultures, and peoples. So I really don't like the term Latino, but we will talk about it in the Mexico video. Mexico video confirmed. Yes. Yes, it is. Wait, let me share my screen with you. Here you go. Here you go. 8 pages are already written. That's a third of it. So I already started writing on this and researching it because the topic of Turkey started getting on my nerves. Here's the script for the Turkish Century Part 3. I'm rewriting it. This is not all of it. But yeah, I have to finish this one soon as well. Okay. Let's get back to the Q&A. You've mentioned in one of your older videos that you lived in Bavaria for a time. I happened to be in Munich and Nuremberg for a few days in the holiday in the new year. One thing I noticed as an American was how few homeless I found from the subway station to the other. But okay. We have homelessness in Germany. The difference between us and you basically just is, in German culture, we see poverty almost like a disease. We treat people bad if they are poor. It is popular within German popular culture, especially on TV, to do something called poverty pornography, which is to mock poor people, to make jokes at the expense of poor people, to just go like, look at these fucking poor people. And it's a really gross cultural aspect of German society, actually. So it's not that we don't have any homeless people in Munich, it's just that you don't get to see them because they are kept out of the wealthier middle-class parts of town. They're shoved off usually to the train stations to hang around under railway bridges. It's very gross, actually. I know people who were homeless in Germany. I know people that, yeah, German society is not very nice to poor people. It's not a great place to be poor. That's very sad, actually. What is your political ideology and why? I'm a liberal. Why? Because I'm a liberal. How old are you? 29. Why do you call yourself Kraut? Isn't it considered derogatory? I don't think it is. I could be wrong, but I never considered it to be derogatory. Do you like Christopher Hitchens? I just saw this in the chat. Yes, I've read almost everything he wrote. He was quite a revelation for me. He was very important in my upbringing. Christopher Hitchens. I grew up in a very conservative part of Europe, Catholic, right-wing, very conservative, where religion was a standard authority almost over everything in that society. Like, you could not escape the grasps of the Catholic Church. It had its tendrils in policies, politics, and in community. And it ostracized people as well. Like, if you got divorced in that time, the church could actually rile people up against you. The church also abused people. and it abused children, as we now know. And when that authority was broken, like I was raised to believe in the Catholic Church as an authority, but that, as Christopher Hitchens once said, that there are two kinds of atheists. There's the kind of atheist who comes to the conclusion that there is no God out of their own rational beliefs and thoughts and rationalizations. And then there's the type of atheist who has the idea of a benevolent God brutalized out of them when they were children. And I fall into that second category. And while I lived through that Catholic swamp, I found Hitchens. And Hitchens played an important role into creating the mindset that I have now. And this is before I even watched YouTube. Like, Hitchens is a meme on YouTube. People always post these ridiculous Hitch slap clips, but I wish more people would read his books because they are far more insightful. What is your opinion on the amount of influence that commentators such as yourself have on the political opinions of others? That is one of the reasons why I keep my opinions out of my videos. I dread the idea that my videos might sway some. Like, I dread the idea that I could tell people what to think. I don't want that. I find that scary. And the fact that I may have done it in the past scares me a lot as well. Got to be honest about that. I don't want to tell people what to think, who to vote, etc., etc. And I wish less people would do it themselves. A lot of people are very sleazy when it comes to it. Remind me about it when we are at the drama segment, because there's something that I can go in more in depth about that. What is the most interesting time period in history to you? For me, it's the 1800s. But that's just me. Like, everyone has their preference. What do you think about Napoleon I? He was horrible. He was the gravedigger of the revolution. He's the one who ended the Republic and replaced it with a French Empire. What do you think will the world look like in 2070? It will be a lot hotter with rising sea levels. Maybe you can take a scuba diving tour of Holland at that point, unfortunately. But I do indeed hope that we will turn things around. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe we will be saving the planet. Maybe we won't be reliant on oil anymore. Who knows? Simple question. Red, white or rose wine? I barely ever drink any alcohol. But when I do, I drink whatever fits to the food. Like, I'm someone who might drink alcohol with if it fits together with what I'm eating. But I don't really drink alcohol to get drunk. A red wine with beef, a white wine with a fish, beer with some pork, maybe. How do you learn so much about history and geopolitics? Reading books. Can't repeat it enough. Just read. Would you ever do a video on the current political situation in Europe with the growing threat of polarization of the politics? That's such a general question that I don't even know how to answer it. You have to be a little more specific, but sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but yeah. Do you feel that in the last decade the political opinions and wants of the German people have been expressed through the democratic process? Yes, we are a very modest and meek people who don't like controversy. Far-right and far-left politics, especially in the history of the Second Republic, hasn't been something that we do a lot. The AfD and Die Linke are more outliers than the norm. At least in the history of this republic. What's your perspective on European independence movements? And do you think they are related? That's something that I want to make a video on in the future. The Catalans, the South Tyroleans, the Venetians, the Corsicans, the Flems. Yeah, we'll get to that in the future, okay? Because I believe it is mainly motivated by economic selfishness. Because one thing that independence movements throughout Europe currently have in common is that they all happen to be in regions that are financially and economically better off than the nation that they are part of. So I believe a lot of it is possibly motivated by selfishness. What do you think about Polish nationalists? Not much. Not much. If you mean the right wing that you found prevalent in Eastern Poland, I don't really like it that much. I wish the regular Polish conservative of the mid-2000s would come back. Because holy fuck, is the Polish far-right scary. Like, really scary. And I dislike how some political commentators, especially conservative commentators on YouTube, paint an image of the Polish far-right as nice people. I think you know who I'm talking about when I'm saying that. Like, something that comes to mind right now. It's a flash. I think I've wrote it down and marked it out here. Yes. Do you guys know who Samuel Eliot Morison is? I'm here from a book that I was reading. Do you know who Samuel Eliot Morison was? Probably not. Samuel Eliot Morison was a historian. And you know how Christopher Columbus became a national hero in the United States for some crazy reason, because he's actually very detached historically from the United States, culturally as well historically. Well, Samuel Eliot Morison was a historian, an American historian, who basically is one of the main figures responsible for making Christopher Columbus kind of an American icon, an American symbol. And he wrote books about Christopher Columbus, promoted him in an era when America was trying to re-identify its national identity and find heroes, national heroes. The book is called Christopher Columbus Mariner. It was written in 1954. And the thing about this book is it mentions the dark side of Christopher Columbus, you know, the enslavement of the Arawak Indians, the genocide of the Arawak Indians, but it mentions it only as a, quote, the cruel policy initiated by Columbus and pursued by his successors resulted in complete genocide. And that sentence is only on one page of the entire book. And there is something about that is very special, because, you know, there is an aspect of doing politics that you could do where you just don't mention the bad things of something you like, you know, where you try to promote something, you are aware of that something doing bad things, so you just deliberately don't mention those bad things. And what Morison is doing here is a bit more sleazy. He mentions the bad things, but does so very briefly to then immediately move on. And I think that what Morison did with Christopher Columbus is something that a lot of right-wing and conservative YouTubers are doing with the Polish far-right right now. They acknowledge the nasty bits briefly, but then they immediately move on to praising the Polish far-right. If you have a moment of your time, Google the mayor of Gdansk and murder. Gdansk is a Polish town, as some of you know. It's city, actually. It's kind of the San Francisco of Poland. It's very liberal, very lefty, and it became the first Polish city to elect a gay mayor. And what you may not know is that the mayor was murdered by a Polish far-right nationalist. This is something that these people who praise the Polish far-right don't mention to you. That this is not just an anti-SJW movement, as they claim. No, these are people who actually are hunting and murdering gay people and lesbians throughout Poland. And it's horrendous. And I really don't like the not mentioning these bad parts, or just slightly mentioning them and then painting over them to present this as a nice movement. It's really gross. But to be honest, a lot of people do that. Like, if you look at left-wing content on YouTube, they're doing the same thing. They're also pulling Morison. They promote communist ideologies and communist movements around the world while continuously doing this thing where they slightly simplistically and smallly acknowledge the nasty bits to such an extent that they paid the lip service to mentioning it for the sake of accuracy and not being accused of deliberately leaving it out, but then immediately continue, overrumble it and move on so fast that it didn't matter in the end. Yeah, I dislike that a lot. I believe if you present something, you should always present everything, even if it's ugly, and even if you don't like it, and even if it doesn't fit into your world. Before you can be honest with others, it is a prerequisite to be honest with yourself. And if you can't be honest with yourself, I don't believe you can be relied upon to be honest with others. Oh dear, where did I put my vape? Oh, here we go. Did the US really need to invade Iraq or Afghanistan for oil? Show me where there's oil in Afghanistan, please. Please show me where there's oil in Afghanistan. Please. Like, that's the thing about the Afghan war. That's one of the reasons why I hate Chomsky. Chomsky is the one who started the myth that Afghanistan was invaded for oil, because there's a pipeline being built through Afghanistan that is intended to connect Central Asia with India. All right? So Chomsky points that out. Okay, first thing Chomsky gets wrong, it's a pipeline for gas and not for oil. Second thing Chomsky gets wrong, the pipeline is built by India. Third thing Chomsky gets wrong, there is no US involvement in that pipeline. It's a project by Uzbekistan and India. Yet Chomsky wrote a book claiming that the only reason the US invaded Afghanistan is to build this pipeline that it literally has no involvement in. Like, that's something about Chomsky that I wish more people were aware of. Chomsky literally makes shit up. Like, I've heard so many historians discuss this who then say things like, well, he's a bad historian, but he's a great philosopher and political commentator. Well, if the historic facts that you build your political content, your political writings on are not true, then your political content and writing is shit. It's not worth much, is it? And I really dislike how frequently Chomsky just gets away with just blatantly making shit up. It's really annoying. I will double down on this. The Afghan war was justified. There was a good cause and reason to remove the Taliban. Did we really need to invade Iraq? Well, we didn't. Remember, we stayed out of your war. And I believe the way you did it and the way you justified it in the United States under the Bush administration was very wrong. Very wrong. Like, just the entire thing was just... In the end, the entire thing was just a complete disaster. Okay. In your opinion, did overpopulation cause the collapse of the Bronze Age? No, I don't believe that. Like, I don't know much about the Bronze Age collapse, so I'm not qualified to give you much of an opinion on this. Free arrows. I'm not going to talk about this until we get to the drama segment. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk about SJW, anti-SJW, right-wing and left-wing YouTubers anymore. Sorry, not doing this. If I do get to that, if I do this during this stream, I'm going to give a warning, because I know for a fact that a large segment of my audience is not interested in what I used to do before. Okay? Why do you think the Balkans is such a mess? Well, is it though? Is it? The Balkans weren't as much of a mess 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 400 years ago. It wasn't much of a mess in the Roman era, wasn't much of a mess in the medieval times. Like, the Balkans are a mess throughout the last 150 years, with the advent of nationalism, separation, communism, fascism. That's the end of colonialism, of the Ottoman Empire. That's all the shit that blew all of this up. I think the idea of the Balkans being this inherently cursed place where everything is always doomed to fall apart and be just complete insanity is a product of very recent history. Thoughts on the future of the CCP and its capacity to maintain the current economic growth and development. Yes, it doesn't matter if the CCP is around or not. That's a point I didn't manage to get around in my China video. It doesn't matter if the Communist Party in China survives or dies. China is here to stay as a global power. That's inevitable. Drug turns society in anarcho-primitivist society. But Grug got small cut on leg. What Grug do? Grug go worship holy big bear in sky. What do you do on bad days? I play video games. Mostly Total War games. Shogun 2, Warhammer, etc. How much of a threat is the far right in Europe right now? Not much. They embarrass themselves from one corner to the other. That's the thing that Americans don't get about right-wing populists. Like they panic and go, oh my god, Nazism returning. Oh my god, we're turning into Nazi America. No. Populists always end up embarrassing themselves. Always. They're incompetent, corrupt, silly. And whenever they get elected, in the rare occasions when they are elected into power, it's more comedy than anything else. Do you think that SJ Views and Crybullets as a whole could cry? No, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this culture war shit. Like I said, later, when I can give the audience a warning that I'm talking about this nonsense. Did you go to university? Yes, in Passau and in Vienna. In Passau and Vienna. What's your favorite German movie? I would go with The Lives of Others and The Bridge, Die Brücke. What's your favorite movie in English? I haven't watched much English movies recently. Shit. I liked Snowpiercer a lot. Yeah. Well, it's probably not my favorite, but it certainly is one of my favorites that I watched recently. How do you politically identify these days? As a liberal? Well, I voted Social Democrat for most of my life, but the Social Democratic Party is not a unison construct. It has liberal wings and left-leaning wings, and I'm part of the Helmut Schmidt wing, which is the more liberal-leaning wing. What is your opinion on the past tension between Iran and the United States? That's one of these general questions where I'm not sure how to answer. If you could keep one country from history from disappearing, which one would you choose? That's a great question. That's a great question. Maybe ancient Judea? Just imagine if the Jews had just stayed there. How much trouble would have been avoided for all of us? Like, there wouldn't be an Israel-Palestine conflict now. If Judea had just persisted for 2,000 years. There wouldn't have been all the nastiness that the Jews had to endure in the rest of the world. So yeah, anti-Semitism might not be a thing. If you could keep one... What do you think the current president of Turkey will do? I'll talk about that in my videos. Magst du Bratwurst? Ja, natürlich. Thanks for doing a Q&A. I already answered that. Where do you find the information you use in your videos? I read books. Do you consider Alsace-Lorraine ethnically French or German? That's not something I'm going to answer, but it's part of France. Simple as that. I don't know what the ethnicity and the lingual makeup of Alsace-Lorraine is, but it's part of France, and yeah. Are you a German nationalist? I hope you're not, because it's something that very weird fringe people bring up in Germany. It's like, yeah, should we just annex this part of Poland and this part of France again? And it's like, please stop, go away. Thoughts on the EU? I hope it can be reformed, but I really dislike what it has been doing and became since 2008. My Euroscepticism, like I still believe the EU can be reformed and saved, but my Euroscepticism started in 2008 when the EU was was used to force fiscally conservative policies onto a nation that voted against them, that being Greece. Now you can oppose the policies that the Greeks wanted, but it doesn't matter because the Greeks voted for them. And you can't just overrule a democratic decision process like that. What, if any, countries do you want to visit before you die? Argentina, China, the United States, Australia, India, Ethiopia. What do you think about new diplomatic situation in Western Sahara? That's going to be its own video. Like the Algeria, Morocco thing and all that, that's going to be its own video. Where do you place yourself on the player? Ecological activism. I think I'm going to address this in a specific Q&A video, because I would like to talk about climate change and why I think the activism done in the US is ridiculous, and why we Europeans are doing it better than everyone else. What is your top 5 history books you've read up until now? Give me a minute. Okay. No, wait, I had another one too. Okay. Before you read any history books, you should read this. And this. Now, Karl Popper is not a historian, he's a philosopher. But he might as well be a historian. And he does, as you can see, this book is almost falling apart because I've read it so often. He critiques something called historicism, which is the idea that you can form political ideologies and predictions out of analyzing historical events, that you can form an ideology out of history. And those exist. Like, what is fascism, communism, Nazism? What are these? What is socialism? It's the idea that history is a development, and he calls that historicism, and he critiques it in The Open Society and Its Enemies. So definitely worth reading. I'm not a big fan of Guns, Germs and Steel. I could actually do a critique of it. Now, Edward Said is a left thing, far left. Like, there's a lot of people complaining about SJW-isms, etc., etc., and they reduce it all to stereotypes. But if you really want to understand the very left-wing way of seeing the world and seeing history, I highly recommend that you read Orientalism by Edward Said. Don't just dismiss things that you disagree with. Like, I disagree with Said, but you can't just dismiss people's belief on the face value of just saying, oh yeah, you believe this, therefore I have to dismiss you already like this. No, read into it. Try to understand how people come to their conclusions. Try to analyze it. Empathize with them as well if you can. And then try to systematically and in a reasonable and educated way deconstruct what you disagree with. This, Jonathan Thurmby's A History of Modern China, is an amazing book. It's an amazing book. It's, oh man, I love it. Like I told you, the 10-hour-long China series that's coming, it's going to be based mostly on this. I loved reading this. Amazing book. David van Rijbroek is a Dutch, not historian, but a fiction writer who wrote a book about the Congo, the entire history of the Congo. And the way he wrote it, like I read this book ages ago, the way he wrote this book is what inspired me to make these long-form documentaries to a degree. Because he wrote this history book like a novel, like a fiction book. Like if the Congo was a sort of stage in a theatre play. It's really great. I highly recommend it. And I would be very surprised if some of you already knew this. I would be very surprised if a lot of you didn't already know of Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, which is considered by many to be one of the best works by a historian in the last 20 years. Because it's, when the history of the United States is written, it is often written from the perspective of, let's talk about the great figures. Let's talk about Lincoln. Let's talk about Washington. Let's talk about the founding fathers as individuals. Howard Zinn wrote this book where he focuses on perspectives of those who you've probably not have heard of or not considered. The perspectives of the Irish immigrant. How did slaves experience the American Civil War? How did Indians experience the industrialization? The perspective of urban America, like telling the story of urban America from the perspective of the woman factory worker of the 1890s. And it's really great. It's an amazing book. I have a tower of books here which is going to fall over if I don't remove it now. So let me just deconstruct this tower so you don't fall over it. Yeah, I don't want books lying around. Will you do a political test? No, I won't. Do you think Jordan Peterson is at all bad? I think he's very overrated. I dislike what he does. My criticism, however, is however different than others. I have a brother who is a buff, fit dude who wakes up every day at 4 a.m. There's a fitness routine that is extreme. Drinks a coffee that, if it were any stronger, you could probably tar roads with it. And works in a factory, keeps everything green, very disciplined and ordered. The dream guy of Peterson, right? Here's the thing about my brother. He's a Marxist anarchist. And he does what he does. He keeps his life in strict order because of his political beliefs. Self-improvement is not a good foundation for philosophy. The clean your room stuff, all that. You could use that to support any ideology, and it was. Just a reminder of the socialist human that the Soviet Union wanted to create. Kraft durch Freude in Nazi Germany. You can use personal improvement as the foundation of any ideology or to support any ideology. So, I don't know, if I were to be able to talk to Jordan Peterson, I'd advise him to build his conservative beliefs on a more solid foundation. Certainly more solid than Christianity as well. That's just a collection of silly myths and idiotic parables. So, yeah, if I could talk to Peterson, I would advise him to read Confucius, because Chinese traditional conservative values are probably the single most stable set of political conservative beliefs that have existed throughout human history. Like, they haven't really changed much in like 3,000, almost 4,000 years, which is amazing if you think about it. Turn on. There you go. What slice of history is most interesting to you? The 1800s? I already answered that. What is your hometown? Where did your youth take place? I don't really have a hometown. We moved around a lot when I was young. Where did I live? In in Cardiff in Wales, in Vienna in Austria, in Passau in Germany, in Oldenburg in Germany. Moved around a lot. What is your least favorite political position? Racial segregation, I guess. That's my least favorite political position. The one that I probably oppose the most. That got me cancelled, by the way, on YouTube, if you can believe it. I mean, I promised to talk about it later, but yeah, I was cancelled by my political YouTube community because I made videos saying that racial segregation is bad. I'm fucking believable. I should be happy that I got cancelled by these people and don't have much to do with them anymore. Do you differ between Islam and political Islam? Yeah, I do. I do believe that it is possible to just have Islam as a personal set of religious beliefs. Unfortunately, you don't see that a lot. You really don't. Most people drag Islam into politics. Do you consider the Islamic religion worse, more dangerous than Judaism and Christianity? No, I don't. I absolutely don't. It's funny that people always bring this up because I had this debate a very long time ago with some guy who accused me of being an Islamophobe, who was like, "Oh man, you claimed that Islam is the most dangerous religion in the world." I never claimed that, because it isn't. Because the people who usually accuse people of being Islamophobes would say Christianity is so much worse, but the most dangerous, the most violent religion in human history are Buddhism and Shintoism. Like, read up on Imperial Japan. Jesus fucking Christ. Read up on that one. How do you believe the left should act to bring back the white workers? I would cut off the prefix white, just workers. I don't know how they would do that. In some countries, they have never lost the working class. In Portugal, for example. The Portuguese left never lost the working class. How do you believe the left should act to bring back the white... Sorry, I just repeated that. Didn't you say that you had caught COVID-19? I had a suspicion when I got ill shortly after the lockdown, but it was something else. What is your education? I will interpret this as that. I'm a certified caretaker for the mentally disabled. That's something that you might not know. I'm a certified assistant nurse, specifically, specialized in caring for mentally disabled people with Down syndrome and stuff like that. I did my GCSEs in English literature, but that is not really entirely true, since I specialized and did my exams in Irish literature. I went to study IT in Germany and history in Austria. And with IT in Germany, I specialized in the digital humanities and in human-machine interaction and interface design and machine design and industrial design, which is not a really good thing to do. And with history right now, I'm still studying. I am focusing on Asian history and Slavic history, Eastern European history in particular in the 1800s. Yeah. Which US presidencies do you particularly dislike and why? US presidents in general have a habit of being overrated. Like Kennedy and Reagan are the two most overrated presidents in history. But they're saints to their respective parties, so there's no real way of criticizing them. But, Kennedy's policy of foreign intervention through elite soldier squads like the Bay of Pigs was a complete fucking disaster, and it was this policy by Kennedy that would lead to what eventually dragged the United States into the disaster in Vietnam. A lot of people don't know that US involvement in Vietnam started with Kennedy. Reagan's presidency should have been ended with the Iran-Contra affair. Very simple. Selling weapons to Iran, an enemy of the United States, to then further sell weapons to through a network of cocaine dealers who ship poison into the United States to finance a right-wing terrorist group that eventually ended up murdering American citizens. Yeah, it should have ended Reagan's presidency. Simple as that. Yeah, US presidents in general are very overrated. Very overrated. Would it ever be possible to get a stable Africa, and how? Well, you've had a stable Africa has been stable throughout most of its history. Like, the destabilized Africa has only been there recently, and it is very much, in a large part, it's stable right now. There's not much conflict going on anymore. Looking that Bernie is likely going to be the Democratic nominee. Are you sure about that? You mentioned before that growing up in a Catholic region severely impacted. I'm not going to talk about that. It's a bit too personal. What is your response to this video by Sean responding to you? I responded to Sean back then, but I am not engaged in this sphere of the internet anymore. Like, I think you've probably posted this with the intention of dragging me back into that sphere. I know that there's a lot of left-wing YouTubers who go to Twitter and go like, haha, I beat Kraut because it no longer responds to me. And there's right-wing YouTubers who do the same. They're like, haha, I beat Kraut because it no longer responds to me. But also there's other things. There's right-wingers who want to try to get me to make videos against the far left again, and therefore try to antagonize me into doing it by pretending to be leftist. But there's also leftists who pretend to be far-right extremists to try to antagonize me into making videos against the far right again. And I don't understand. I'm very happy to be out of this. Like, this is again drifting into the drama segment of this. I don't want to talk about this. Like, maybe later, maybe when only the people who are interested in this, who have been around long enough, are around. But I used to be part of the political YouTube sphere. I'm the one where you give your own opinions, where you make opinion essays. And I'm not anymore. And I'm talking about both sides of that. I'm talking about the far left side and the far right side, the left side and the conservatives. I'm happy I'm out of it. Screw these people. I feel like I left a lunatic asylum. I'm not going back there. I don't want anything to do with these people anymore. They can go to hell for all that I care. I'm going to explain why I feel like that eventually, but maybe in this stream later, but I'm not going back there. Screw this. No, I'm not going back there. I don't want to. What kind of steps could a Muslim country take to minimize the toxic influence of Islam, knowing that any anti-Islamic policies are usually... I don't think you could really, this topic is so much more nuanced than this. Islamism, as I said in my last video, is really only 40 years old, 100 years old, if we're being... Said al-Qutb wrote and founded the first, Islamist theocratic movements that we know today. Man, I should probably try to explain this a little more on my YouTube channel. Do you guys mind if I take a little break? My tongue hurts a little bit and all that. So I'm just going to going to disable the screen. And I'm going to read the chat a little bit for you guys. And vape. Oh man. By all means, take a break. Thank you. Thank you. I am a dual citizen, yes. Are you going to do an OnlyFans in the future? You know, if there were a market out there where people would actually buy pics of naked men, I think a lot of men would be out there doing it, but there isn't a market for that. I've never heard of a woman buying a dick pic. Never heard of that. Will you ever do a video about Finland? Maybe, who knows? What do you think about Wilson? Are you by any chance Turkish? No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to explain my reasons for why I picked this topic to go into so much detail, but no, I'm not Turkish. Feet pics. Well, I can show you my feet here. Let me try and bring them up for you. There you go. Here's my foot. What is the Gunt meme? What is the Gunt meme? Oh, I don't need my headphones anyway. If you keep asking that, if enough people keep asking what the Gunt is, I might make a video explaining the Gunt meme. I don't think I will be covering much ancient history. What is the Gunt meme? I'll show you something, which I guess some of you might be able to appreciate at the very least.
This is a lump of overhang.
Wait. Okay.
This is a lump of overhanging grizzled flesh that is poking out beneath Ethan Ralph's ill-fitting shirt.
Maybe that explains the Gunt, at least to some degree. I mean, probably it caused more confusion, probably. What the fuck exactly? Maybe one day I'll explain the Gunt. The Gunt. Twitch is automatically banning the term Gunt from the chat. I don't know why, I just had to approve of it. Gunt. Well, if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you the picture. I'm going to show you the picture then. Where is it? Just give me a moment. I know I have it here. Fuck. Where do I have the picture? Here we go. Here. You guys can see all of this. Here's the picture of... Here's Ethan Ralph. The sweaty one in the... between the guy in the cap and between the guy with the long hair. And let's just move the image down. And here you go. Here it is. Here is the Gunt. Let's zoom in a little more. The grizzled pyre of flesh hanging... Oh, it looks so disgusting. It's so gross. Oh, it's so disgusting. In case you guys don't know what this is, this guy is a Nazi podcaster who believes he's part of the superior white race. Indeed, the superior white race. Look at this. Just look at that. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, let me get this off the screen. It's fucking disgusting. Ugh. Gross. Why can't I remove it? What do you mean I can't remove it? Go away. Go away. Fuck off. Okay. Ugh. Okay. Let's get back to... Let's go back to reading the AMA, if you don't mind. What do you think about European federalism? No, I'm gonna skip some of these. My question to you, what do you think about the war on drugs? I hate the war on drugs. It's one of the big topics, actually, that I would discuss, you know. I believe one of the best things you could do for the United States and for the world right now would be to end the war on drugs. I really do believe that. Why do you... No, I'm not going to answer this guy's questions. He seems to be a bit iffy. There's a lot of repeats now. Wow. How much have your political opinions changed since you started a YouTube channel? Not much. They really haven't changed much. They really haven't changed. Well, I used to believe that maybe we shouldn't legalize heroin, you know, but I do believe now that to end the war on drugs, we really have to decriminalize all drugs. How did you learn the English language? I was raised bilingual. My dad is English. I lived in Wales for quite a long time, and in Germany. What do you think of the situation in Palestine? I'd like to address this in the video because a lot of people think I'm pro-Israel. I actually do believe in a Palestinian state, and I hate a lot of the things that the Israelis are doing. It's just that most people who are, you know, the internet's Israel critics are just absolute jackasses and just obvious anti-Semites. Do you have a distrust of Muslims or the Islamic right? No, I have a distrust of anyone who drags religion into politics. Simple as that. Or uses religious identity in politics. Everyone. Doesn't matter what your religion is. If you drag your religion into politics, I will be here to bitch at you. Can you put together a list of frequently used songs in your videos, please? Yes, I will try my best to do that. I will try my best, I promise that. Some thoughts on neoliberalism. That's you know, that kind of question. Like, what do you think of this? What are some thoughts on, like, doing this thing where you go like, here's this big complex set of issues, this big complex topic. What are your thoughts on it? Summarize in a few sentences. It's like, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't. Why do you think Bernie didn't win the Democratic nomination? Because I believed he believed himself to be more popular than he is. I don't believe Bernie Sanders is as popular as a lot of people think he is. I believe he's very overrated. A lot of people deluded themselves into believing he was very popular. He wasn't as popular as people thought he was. What is your opinion on the Palestinian-Israeli dispute situation? I believe in a two-state solution. I really do. I would really like if the Israelis could just get the fuck out of the West Bank. I believe that would resolve a lot of that conflict. Yeah, but it's not happening. Will you be making more videos in Southeast Asian countries? Vietnam. I would love to make a video about Vietnam at one point, and why it's the world's least conquered country. Can you please publish your bibliography in all your videos? Yes, I will do so at the end. I showed you the bibliography of the Turkey videos right now. I will do so. What is the flight velocity of an unladen swallow? I have no idea. Why are you so underrated? I don't know. Can we still join the Discord? Yes. What the hell are these questions? What inspired you to come back to YouTube after leaving again? I'll address this maybe in the drama thing. Like, we'll see. I think a lot of you people watching this will go as soon as I address the drama nonsense. Thoughts about Brazilian politics, specifically on Bolsonaro and Lula. Bolsonaro is a dipshit. Lula is corrupt. And it's really sad that the only choices the Brazilians have in their politics right now is a right-wing lunatic and a corrupt... Yeah, it's like... I feel sorry for you guys. I really do. I hope the situation improves over time. Will you do any more episodes of Paranoid Pornographer? I thought about it. You know what? Yeah, let's do this. Yeah. Yeah, no. I'll just... Let me go to my video ideas Google Doc. You probably... Let me go to that Google Doc and let me add to the section of videos without country balls. Let me just add this at the end here. Okay. Videos on YouTube and YouTubers. Let me format it correctly. Okay. Paranoia Pornographer. Paul Joseph Watson. That is the guy who I would have worked on making the next Paranoia Pornographer on, but I didn't make the next Paranoia Pornographer. And I'll tell you why when we get to this, to the drama segment of the stream. If enough people vote for this, I'll make that video eventually. Are you going to make a video on the riots and the protests around Black Lives Matter? I don't think it will. I will make a video eventually on the history of slavery, and maybe eventually I will get to talk about the plight of black people. But like I told you guys, if I talk about current events, I need to find a wider historical angle to talk about it. Another thing is that you shouldn't forget I am a European. I'm not very educated on the American racial issues and divisions. I really am not. I actually have the cringe every time Europeans pick up this topic, because on most occasions they don't seem to have a fucking clue what they're talking about. Your opinions on the different parties of Germany. I'm not going to give you my opinion. Well, I already said that I voted Social Democrat for most of my life. Do you have an active Twitter again? No, I don't. I got banned and I have no intention on coming back. Are you gay? No, I'm not gay. I'm straight. I am straight. Let me refresh the page. Oh, God. How much did you add? Fuck. You added a lot of questions. From the looks of it, at least. Oh, my. What is your opinion on the democratic approach to Chinese economic and other? I believe it is the only thing you can do right now, to be honest, if you're a democracy. Or is the best thing to do, at least. I wouldn't go with using totalitarian means to undermine a totalitarian regime, because it just replaces a totalitarian regime with a new totalitarian regime. What is your opinion on the use of nuclear energy as a viable alternative? Yes, I do believe in that, to combat climate change. If you have to bring on policy from Roman Republic Empire to modern age, which would it be now? I wouldn't do that. Sounds weird. If I would, what would it be? The bread dole, maybe? Where they handed out bread to people? Maybe that. Thoughts on a video about the history of Chechnya? Well, I would have to expand on that, because I'm going to make a video on the Caucasus in general, because a lot of people focus on Chechnya, but not enough talk about the other surrounding conflicts with the Abkhazian and the Georgians, the Russian conflicts in Dagestan, and with the various ethnic minorities of the Caucasus, conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Like, I want to expand on that. What do you think about the Polish rise of authoritarianism? We talked about that. What do you think about the Swiss system of governance? There will be a video about that. What's your opinion on African integration? Do you think it did bring peace to the region? I think it is by and large failing because of outside influences like France. Because they're trying to dominate, for example, the degree of integration that was done in West Africa was largely done under the leadership of France rather than under the leadership of West African countries. What do you think of leaders like Li Kuan? Ah, that's a good one. I don't believe that there is a benevolent dictator. I will be frank about this. Why do you believe Yugoslavia collapsed? Because it was an economic sham. Didn't hold together at all. Do you think Ireland should reunite? That's something that only the people of Ireland and Northern Ireland can decide. Parliamentary versus presidential system of government doesn't matter, to be honest, as long as there's separation of institutions, like in the United States. Like, for me, the most important thing is the separation of the institutions that prevent the individual branches of government from gaining too much power. What do you think of the Gulen movement? I believe it's a very sinister movement, but I don't believe in all the Erdogan conspiracy theories. Why do you insist on calling the PKK Kurds in your latest video? The Turks have helped you. You're doing the mate. Anger Turks is mismove. Well, look, mate. The Kurds are real. Like, I know it's a very popular thing amongst Turkish nationalists to deny that the Kurds exist. This is one of the dumbest fucking policies you can do. I'm going to be very frank with you. Like, it reminds me of the US policy of denying that the People's Republic of China existed. Like, just think about how stupid that policy was. Just, let's pretend 1 billion people don't exist. Like this idea that you can just, that a problem will go away if you ignore it. No, idiots. Like, there's a conflict with the Kurds. There's a reality to that. And I do believe that the PKK are terrorists. I will give you that. Like, I can't support what the PKK does, murdering Turkish civilians. Like, there are people who just ignore that, who are like, oh, but they're the good guys. No, there's no excuse for murdering civilians. But there is a Kurdish conflict. Thoughts on US intel saying that China prefers a Biden presidency? I would have to see that. Opinions on Kosovo? Yeah, the reason why Kosovo is becoming increasingly independent is Serbia. And the way Milosevic fucked up, basically. Hello from Norway. Love your hair. What's your favorite book? I'll show you my favorite book. I'll show you my favorite book. If I can find it. If I can find my favorite book, I will show you my favorite book. And then I will tell you to read it. There we go. I'm now reading this for the third time. Why Nations Fail by Darren Ashimoglu. Here's something. This is something that came up in other questions, which is like the similarities between my content and Brain for Breakfast. There's a big difference that you will be expecting, that you can expect from my future content to Brain for Breakfast content. Because Brain for Breakfast relied a lot on Peter Zeihan, who in many ways is a geographic determinist. And I disagree with that. I don't believe that our destinies and the way our societies shape and form and rise and collapse depends on geography. I am someone who actually agrees more with Acemoglu. I believe that it is the history and legacy of succeeding and failing institutions, economic, social, and in government throughout history. And that will be the emphasis of my channel. And I just flipped out my reading thing. Here you go. But this is currently one of my favorite books, and I highly recommend it to anyone. I'm gonna go back to reading it tonight when this stream is done. What do you think about Germany ending all its nuclear power plants? Very stupid idea. Very stupid. What do you think about the future of LGBT rights and acceptance in the Western world? I believe it will only be more and more accepted. Like the age of the homophobe is over in Europe and the US. It's coming to an end. Thoughts on Otto von Bismarck. He doomed Germany to war with France. And to nationalistic delusions. How do I get into the Discord server? Let me just... You know what? You're probably still in the live chat, so I'm just going to post an invite. So let me just make an invite for all of you. Let me change it so that the invite never expires and that an endless amount of people can use it. Generate new link, copied, and here you go. What is your favorite hentai? I don't watch hentai. Sorry to disappoint you there. I just don't find that particularly appealing. Opinion on Zionism. Let's wait until I make my video on the history of the Jewish people, and then I'll talk about that. I said this, the way it is framed in the modern political conversation is gross and disgusting. I'll say that. The way it is used by people in our day and age, where people vandalize synagogues in Germany and then say, oh, it's okay to do it because they are owned by Zionists. Fuck you. Like, that's really gross that people do this. Can you drop a list of your book recommendations on the stream? No, but maybe eventually I'll make a video about books. Maybe. Who knows? Like, one of the reasons I don't make as much videos as I usually do is because I have a main job. You know, maybe at one point I can change to living off this channel again, and then I'll be making more videos and I'll be able to make such short ones. Yeah. I can't hear you because my sound is off, but what? Why are you telling me then? Did you feel that your last video on Turkey is connected to your past video on the modern? No. I'm doing a clean cut from what I used to make. I'm not putting my opinions into my videos anymore. I escaped the political commentary community. I'm out of that community. I'm not going back. It will take an extremely large push to get me back into that lunatic asylum. If you're more on the side of the Democrats over the Republicans, I will not endorse people in American politics. I think it's wrong to tell foreigners who to vote for. You should have a ceremony at the beginning of every election season in the United States where you just gather together all foreigners who tell you who to vote for, and you should throw them into the Boston Harbor. Because fuck them. I really don't understand Americans who listen to Canadians and English people on who they should vote for. Didn't you people fight wars so we wouldn't tell you who to vote for? Didn't you? Like, don't let foreigners tell you who to vote for, no matter where you're from. Finlandization. I've never heard of Finlandization. Send me a DM and tell me more about that. That sounds interesting. Great. Did you read The Myth of Nations by Patrick Geary? Well, I'll add it to my read list, okay? if you don't mind. The Myth of Nations by Patrick Geary. I'll add it to my reading list. Since you mentioned honesty, do you have an opinion on the concept or on the namesake of us? Oh, I already did that. Why are you gay? Look, I'm not gay. All the subscribers here will notice that I have an army of gay men who basically can't accept the fact that I'm not gay, that follows me around everywhere. I'm not gay, please leave me alone. I'm not gay. Chat slowed down. Did I stop streaming? No. Okay. Why are you straight? Well, I'm straight, I guess. I don't have a problem with gay people. I have a lot of gay friends, but I just have a lot of gay fans who for some reason won't accept that I'm not gay. It's really weird. It's really weird. Okay. That concludes it. I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to ask chat. Do you want me to address some of the drama questions? Because we could just end it now, and I know that a lot of people don't find it interesting. Yeah? Oh god. Well, all other questions are answered. There still will be a Q&A video where I would like to go into more detail with my answers on some questions which I believe deserve more detail. But I would like to ask everyone else, mostly those who are new to my channel and who don't know anything about the drama that was around my channel 3 years ago and the community that I was part of, to just leave this stream if you can. Because I'm pretty sure that for most of you this is not going to be interesting. Yeah, I don't want to drag you into past bullshit. It's something that keeps coming up. I'll summarize this before you leave as this. I used to be part of a political commentary sphere of YouTube, where there were YouTubers who gave their own political opinions and who supposedly debated these opinions. And this community included people from the far left to the far right. And I was a liberal who criticized the far left and the far right. And there was a lot of drama and a lot of bullshit, and I was ostracized from that community, damned more or less, and cancelled, and celebrated as a fallen whatever, someone who would never recover, supposedly. And I left the community behind and built something new, which is what you are seeing now on my channel. A lot of people didn't expect me to recover. And a lot of people from this past community that I left behind and are trying to drag me back. And I don't want to be dragged back. I really don't want to. Yeah, TK credits. I do not want to go back to making what I used to make. I don't want to. And it's weird. It's weird. It's really gross as well. Like, one thing that recently started was, there's this gross right-wing asshole called Uzulu, who was a part of my cancelling, who tweeted some time ago that he's the reason I'm now successful again, because he managed to bully me into making better content. And there's this far left streamer called Vaush, who I was told is now also running around claiming that he is the reason I make better content now, because he bullied me into making better content. And it's weird to observe this as an outsider, how when you, now as an outsider, when you leave this fucking sphere of the internet behind, and they just try to drag you back by all means possible as soon as you have a semblance of success. I don't even know if it's true if I've said that, because it was told to me by a third party, but I get that feeling everywhere. Like, a lot of past associates, people who cancelled me, people who really tried their damned hardest to make my life miserable are trying really hard to drag me back into their bullshit. And it's really fucking annoying to me. It's really annoying. I don't want... There's a lot of shit about it that really annoys me. Here's something that a lot of people asked. When I criticized the far right and the alt right, I did it in 2007. And that was back when the alt right was still relevant and had a dominant presence on the internet, and it was a dangerous fucking thing to do because they could mobilize an army of assholes to make your life miserable. Which it did to me. And I find it very curious that back when I critiqued the far right, a lot of people who were in my community threw me under the bus and critiqued me and viciously attacked me for critiquing the alt-right. And now, two years later in 2019 and 3 years actually in 2020, now that it is semi-popular to make videos against the alt-right because the alt-right is irrelevant, all these people who condemned me, they're now on the internet and claiming that they've always opposed the alt-right and trying to make videos on that, and it's really weird to observe this. And I've mostly let go of that. I've made peace with a lot of people who attacked me back then and are now doing the very thing that they attacked me for. Real shoe and head. I don't even blame Chris Reagan for doing this turn, to be honest, because I think he was always uncomfortable with the community he was part of. But there are certain people who just gross me out, like Ahmed Skeptic. Like, I don't believe that he actually believes in any fucking thing. And his supposed turn into being a left-winger, I don't buy it for a fucking second. Just gross. Especially when you keep in mind how vicious he was with people who dared to criticize the right 2 years ago. And then there's people like Vaush now, who turned up a year after the alt-right became irrelevant on the internet to claim that they defeated the alt-right. And I just look at him and go like, who the fuck even are you? Where were you? And he in many ways is the Sargon of Akkad of left-wing YouTube, because his entire content revolves around, he doesn't come at it with an attitude of trying to explore and find out and learn, but with an attitude of, I know everything, I am here to lecture you, I am always right. And the same people who fell for Sargon of Akkad, Chris Reagan, Schuenhead, TJ, Worsley, are now falling for that guy too. I believe that thing will also end in a similar way as the Sargon thing ended. In many ways, the appearance of Vaush on the internet convinced me that this is just a brain-dead cycle of egos fighting each other over egos, and that the political commentary sphere that I was part of has really nothing to do with political commentary or discussing any politics. It's all about egos. And I should therefore be happy that I'm no longer part of it. I should be happy that I'm out of it. Because, let's be honest, isn't what I do now better? Now that I'm detached from these people? Isn't what I do now better? Wouldn't you agree with that? Where I don't talk about anyone else. I don't talk about my disagreements with people. I just put the facts out there as they are. I try to be neutral. I am aware of my biases, but I try to be neutral. And I try to get you to discuss the presented facts and to form your own opinions. And I don't tell you what to think. Isn't that better? Yeah. And I see that all of you agree with this. And that's why I don't want to get back into this. I don't want to get back into the community that I was once involved in. I find it gross how these people, now that I'm having success, are claiming responsibility for my success. It's really gross. It's really gross. how these people try to drag me back in. Because it just reveals further how none of them were ever honest to begin with anything they say or do. I sound doubtful. Yeah, because it was painful. It was painful leaving a community behind. It was painful leaving people behind who I thought were friends. That really got me. In many ways, I'm not over it, but I keep it to myself. Like, this is the first time I publicly talked about it in a while. I miss the community to a degree. I miss talking to some of these people. I really do. I really do. But I don't want to run off and join something else, you know. The thing I was part of was called the Skeptosphere. I believe that what is now called BreadTube, I think, or LeftTube, is going to end like the Skeptosphere, because they have the same vices and problems that we have. They're lazy, they have their own versions of Sargon and Blair White and Schuenhead, and they're going to fall the same way that we did. And I should be happy that I'm out of it. And on my own, I'm alone. I'm not in a YouTube community. I make content by myself for you, the ones who came by to watch. But I haven't sold out my integrity. Yeah. Well then, I hope if we do more streams that we don't have to bring this fucking topic up again, because I don't want to talk about it again. I really don't. I really don't. Right. Next time. What are we going to do next time? I'm going to go... Right now I'm either going to go and read, or write some more on the Turkey video, and, well, I think we could do a stream the next time going through the to-do list, if you want, if you'd like that. I'm not going to stream myself doing Roblox. This is as far as I'll go mentioning it. The bird is free, by the way. I'll show you. I think I uploaded the video of the bird on my second channel. I found like, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I found a baby bird and then nourished it up into being a grown up blackbird, and then it flew off to be a free bird again. Yeah. We'll see what we do. I'm open to suggestions as well. Just don't be Roblox. If you fucking come into my suggestion box and you're like, stream Roblox, I'm going to be so mad. But yeah. Well, I'm going to go and read a book or write on the Turkey video. I hope you were entertained. And if someone here recorded this with OBS, please let me know and send it to me so I can upload it to the secondary channel. And let me open my OBS to close this down. I wish you all a wonderful day and a good night. And I hope to see you all soon again. Have a good one.